Husk Power Systems, the world-leading community solar mini-grid company, has secured a $5 million revolving debt facility from the International Finance Corporation and the Government of Canada to build 108 new solar hybrid mini-grids across northern Nigeria. This is the first project under IFC's $200 million DES platform, and Husk Power was chosen to pilot it. And on the show, we're speaking to the country director for Nigeria at Husk Power Systems. Welcome to Economy and Market, where we give you a comprehensive breakdown of market and economic activities. I am David Olujimi, your host.
Thank you, David, and thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Okay, basically, I'll just give a brief overview of what DES program is as we prepare to go into as I ask some questions. So, DES is basically the distributed access through Renewable Energy Scale-up, and it's a $750 million multi-year World Bank financed initiative that was designed to increase access to electricity services for, according to the World Bank, 17.5 million Nigerians by 2030 through private sector-led mini-grids and standalone solar solutions. The program is basically building on consolidating on the Nigeria electrification project, and according to the Rural Electrification Agency, that's REA, the DES program is targeting 1,225 solar mini-grids and is targeting the generation of 165 megawatts of electricity. And in a landmark move last week, we saw Husk Power System get like the groundbreaking for the project. They received a $5 million revolving debt facility from the IFC for building 108 new solar mini grids. This project was going to target about 115,000 people. Let's not forget that the DES program is part of Mission 300 initiative that was signed in Tanzania this year. The show this morning, we have Mr. Olu Aruike, the country director for Nigeria at Husk Power Systems, who is going to give us proper insight into how the project is going. So, first of all, how does it feel to be the first company to get the nod? I'm talking about Husk Power. We have other companies that are into solar mini grids, but how does it feel for you to be the first partaker?
Thank you, David. And to be honest, it feels like there's a lot of weight on our shoulders, right?
Okay.
Taking the charge to ensure that this works, right? Typically how these things work, and Husk has been a market leader, both in India and now in Nigeria. It's everyone rests on these things, right? And then that means that the rest coming after you, then take the same route or then continue to progress from there. It is exciting. It allows us to continue to do the work that we're doing in Nigeria. This is the world's largest off-grid market. Of course, everybody knows that. And there's a lot to be done, right? So the IFC and the government of Canada backing us with this revolving loan is a validation of the work we continue to do, and supporting the progress that Nigeria and its government and its people continue to make to ensure everyone has access to reliable power.
So basically, I hear about the Nigeria electrification project. I've heard about it quite a while. How involved was your company with that project, and how does that experience come into play in this particular project that we're talking about now, this new one? How has it been with the Nigeria electrification project, and what's the synergy between these two projects?
So Husk has been a beneficiary and a partner. I would say more or less a partner with the Nigeria electrification project. It is like, a project housed under the Rural Electrification Agency, or implemented by the Rural Electrification Agency on behalf of the World Bank and other partners. Husk has been a partner with that program and continues to be a partner. In fact, as an extension of that partnership, Husk did sign an MOU for 250 megawatts of deployment of decentralized renewable energy projects across Nigeria in the next few years. And a few other things have followed on from that MOU last year, including other sub-MOUs and other work that we continue to do. What Husk is trying to do now is to integrate all of this along with, the outlook for the DEST program, which is now ongoing, which has taken over from where the initial NEP program started, and integrate on that and continue to drive scale in deploying mini grids and decentralized renewable energy projects across Nigeria. So the partnership remains solid. It is intertwined with what we have just signed off with the IFC, and we'll continue to progress the work that we continue to do. That partnership has been very, very significant in what, and has played a significant role in what Husk has been able to achieve in Nigeria and what Husk is intended to continue to achieve in Nigeria. So
before now, there was a time where I heard, that was earlier this year, Husk was trying to raise $400 million in a capital market move. That was my first interaction with the company, Husk Power. Are we looking at that debt facility as part of this move, or is the $400 million capital market effort still underway?
Yes, largely it is still underway. What we do is heavily capital intensive, in terms of the infrastructure deployment and all of that, right?
Yes.
2 years ago, we were the first to raise $100 million, 2/3 of, equity. But in that time, and we've continued to try to drive and push, the numbers and deployments with that funded. But now we've seen that we need to go back to the market again to even get more money to continue to do more work across the markets that we currently serve, and even the new ones we're looking at. So yes, that $400 million requirement or access to capital markets is still on, and it is a bigger play into the much longer term goal for Husk in the next couple of years. The goal with IFC, or the partnership with IFC, it's a part of the validation of the work that we continue to do. It would, of course, continue to play a role. Like, this is a revolving loan, and it is dependent. It's also going to revolve depending on how we are able to utilize the funding that the IFC has now made available. So we'll continue to look at the capital markets for sourcing funding that will help us to continue to drive our work.
So it leads me to the next question about this revolving debt. You said something. First, when I saw the news, first thing that came to mind is $5 million sufficient to build 108 mini grids. So what's the debt structure like? What's the structure like?
So the structure is leveraging, some of the funds we've already raised in the past, and of course the partnership with the NEP, like we've already mentioned. The IFC revolving loan is more or less working capital that will enable us utilize and then come back again, draw down and then come back again, as much as possible. So yes, you're right. $5 million is not enough to deploy the mini grids, but it is a very significant portion in deploying 108 mini grids for us. Okay. It is a portion of a $25 to $30 million ask or need to deploy 108 mini grids over the next few years in the country.
Okay. So what criteria has guided the choices of these 108 locations? Like, what did you look at, and how has it been with land permits, land acquisition, community engagement? I'm also assuming, or I'm guessing, that there's been quite extensive engagement with all of these different state governors.
No, absolutely, and a big shout out to the Rural Electrification Agency. Like I said, a year ago we had a 250 megawatt MOU on our backs. The REA has also been very, very intent in working with the states, and you can see that with a lot of the state roundtables going around now. I think they are state number 10 or 11, if I'm correct. Okay. And some of these states that they've been working with, or now partnering with, are states that we've also been, working with. Essentially, our home state, what we like to call our home state, Nasarawa State, where we've built most of our grids up until now. And that government engagement, I can tell you, especially for Nasarawa State, has been very, very fruitful, has played a significant role in how we've engaged with communities, even chosen the sites, looked at, where to go and where not to go and things like that. Although for Husk, we're very, very intent on where we go to build mini grids, but you can never get it all right because the state governments and their agencies remain the gatekeepers for understanding the locations that may be viable for mini grids. So that layer and working with state governments like Nasarawa State and now also Plateau and other states has been very, very, has played a key role in what we've done so far. In choosing these 108 sites, I can tell you that the state governments themselves and their agencies, right, that are responsible for power engagements or even for infrastructure engagements or even for investments that come into the states have been very, very helpful. They've supported what we're trying to do. I've mentioned Nasarawa, I've also mentioned Plateau, and also Adamawa as well, where Husk has another 10 megawatt MOU in place for deploying DRE projects. So working with the states has been very, very helpful. And in identifying these communities and going there as well, the locals have also been very, very welcoming, especially with, trying to work together with them to synergize and deploy projects that are impactful and can support sustainable development for these areas.
Okay, so what are some of the operational hurdles that you felt like you are anticipating, or maybe in your existing locations that you face? What are some of the hurdles you face? Do you have issues of theft? Do you face any issues like that? So just walk us through it.
I mean,
that side is something else.
the Nigerian business environment is not one of the best, to be honest. Anybody who's operating a business here can tell you that. The most significant ones are around logistics and supply chain.
Okay.
Imagine the areas where we work, where oftentimes we're at the first level infrastructure to go into those places. So we have to find a way to get equipment in there by ourselves, right? And then there's also the know-how, the transfer of knowledge and know-how to the people that we work with. And you can imagine that you cannot all take, employees that, you've trained.
Now I want to ask a question. You said something about the infrastructure, like sometimes Husk tends to be the first infrastructure in the location. So that means you're trying to tell me that you're going into communities without roads.
No, absolutely. A lot of these communities, firstly, they don't have power. The network, internet or phone network is really not very great. And then there's also absence of financial services, right? And that in itself, is something we then start to look at how we can build all of that out or work with partners who can work with us. In the past, we found partners to put in telco towers.
We are facing a bit of challenge.
We've also found partners to provide financial services in these areas.
Okay, so one question I would like to be on. You said something around the fact that, first of all, no infrastructure. We are talking about power lacking, financial services lacking. So how do you recoup your money from communities where all of these things basically do not exist? And I'm guessing they probably don't have potable water also. What's the...
Oftentimes, yes, they do not have potable water. I mean, people are used to streams and rivers. But, when power goes into these communities, and that's why Husk is in business today, to power prosperity if you look at these areas, you would understand that the first thing that is really missing is always power. And once power comes in, people are then able to do much more, including on financial services, including on phone network availability, including on agro-processing and other economic activities that can then begin to thrive there. So this is often the case when we go into those areas, weighing the viability and the level of engagement that is possible there. them being able to say, hang on, if we put power here, these and these and these are possible. And then you can begin to see that months down the line, people are able to do more. Other partners that can bring other infrastructure like financial services, like telecommunications, then begin to come in as well.
Okay, before we round up, so basically I've been speaking to some people or just having some insight into things going on in your company. I got insight into something called interconnected mini grids, where it's noted that the company is trying to work with, for now, Abuja Electric, that's the Abuja Electric Distribution Company, to channel power through their distribution networks. How is that going?
I can tell you that AEDC has been a very great partner with Husk. Last year, we signed the first tripartite agreement for an interconnected mini grid somewhere in Nasarawa State, and that project is now being developed and should be commissioned sometime this year. So the AEDC is one of the few discos that has been really, really forthcoming with supporting the asset class of interconnected mini grids. That is a totally new asset class, where collaboration and engagement remains very vital for its success. And the AEDC has been very, very great at that. We commend them, and we want to continue to work with them and other discos as well, who are very supportive of interconnected mini grid projects and even embedded generation projects. Okay. So in a few months, we hope to commission our first interconnected mini grid project in Nasarawa as well. Again, I remember I called that our home state. And that allows us to leverage that experience to begin to look at more interconnected mini grid projects and working with other discos who are happy to work with Husk.
So I want to ask a question. What's Husk plans for the south of Nigeria? People staying. I mean, they are I think it's all of Ondo West. There's been no light for as long as God knows. That's we're talking about the larger parts of Ondo State. They don't have electricity. The same thing when you go to some parts of Oyo State. These are communities that electricity. You go to Ekiti. When you go down to Ebonyi, So what's the plan for the southern part of Nigeria? Because I can tell that all the 10 states you are trying to work with now are all in the north.
No, absolutely. And, the Nasarawa was our first entry. And from there, we wanted to move in a certain way. The states I've mentioned have been very, very integrated with what we're doing and provided requisite support. And to be honest, Husk continues to look at opportunities in the south. We're having a little bit we're in mission, and those could also lead to us deploying projects in the south sooner than even later. The opportunities remain in the south. Husk also has the C&I vertical business, which is allowing us support factories, agro-processing industries, etc. And those opportunities we also see in places around Lagos and Ogun. And we're happy to, more than ever, support those kind of companies that want to switch to renewable energy sources for their power needs.
Okay, so thank you so much. That's all we can take this morning, Mr. Olu. I'm very appreciative. You gave us quite a lot of insights. And it's been nice talking to you this morning. Good morning.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning to Economy and Markets on BusinessDay TV this morning. It's been great having you. See you again same time on Wednesday. Have a lovely day.